Hello there, folks. Stone here. As all of you know, or don't know, because I have 2 subscribers total. I play a lot of AUT, and I love AUT, right? One of my favorite games on Roblox. But recently they've kind of been doing some weird stuff with the balance changes, right? Now, 6.2.3 is the current patch for clarification. I'm gonna scroll back up here and full screen this so I can read. A universal time patch 6.2.3. General changes. The following abilities now have lingering intangibility frames on their awakenings and an awakening status indicator, which I think means, like how Casey has that bar at the bottom, I think they all now have that. Or I'm wrong, because I haven't played since they released this. But the intangibility frames and the status indicator has been applied to Weather Report, Aizen, Umbra, Ichigo, Tusk, Uryu, Sid, Nocturnus, Gear 5, Soul, Guts, Shadow of the World, Requiem, Cars, Base Luffy, Wonder View, Garo, Anubis, Crystallized, Casey, Broly, Anshin, and Crazy Diamond. Which, I feel like, honestly, yeah, that's a pretty fair, balance change. The intangibility frames after an awakening is like it's a good idea. It makes it so you can't get immediately punished for using your awakening. Which, I feel like could just be solved by giving all awakenings, like, an explosion as they end to punish someone who's trying to punish. Which, maybe that's a bad change, but, like, I feel like it's a good change. Cause, like, what's it called? Star Platinum of the World has that slam. Crystallized has the yell. They don't really need the intangibility frames if we just give more abilities that, like, explosion when they go into mode. I feel like, Ichigo's awakening should at least have a hitbox. Like, if we're gonna, like, Blade Slam has the exact same VFX, and it has a hitbox, because it's a move. Why don't we give Bankai that hitbox, Like, but, I can't really change that, because I'm not on the dev team, so, well, whatever. Following skins are now obtainable from skin crates, which this I'm upset about. Actually, I'm not really upset so much as I didn't realize how high the value of the skin I had was. I had a bright pink pattern 63 high frequency blade, and I traded it for way lower than I should have. I traded it for, actually no, it was Soul Reaping Cultivation Uryu, so it was pretty good, but, like, I should have gotten more out of it, But it's Flame Shion. What is this skin from, actually? I don't know that one. Yoru, which I think is the Guts skin. It's either the Guts skin or the, oh my god, what's it called? The Griffin skin. Griff? What's his name? The Shank skin. I watched One Piece, I swear. I'm not LARPing. Ghostface, Winter Jack. Ghostface wasn't obtainable? It's either a typo or I'm really stupid. Winter Jacket, the Ichigo skin. Africa, DCU Flash, Quicksilver, and those 3 are up for AUT train. Homelander. They added Homelander to the skin crates? I feel like that's gonna make his value tank really hard. Reaper Bonesickle, Reaper Crimson, Reaper Amethyst, Reaper Mystical Death are all also obtainable. Cosmic Garo is obtainable. Finally, it has been literally, I want to say, almost a year since that skin was added. And now it's obtainable. Both Delta, Ice, and Fire are obtainable now too, which is nice. Disabled AUT Train's Burst Finishers. I don't know what those are. I didn't use AUT Train, like, at all. Added a new Disable Flashing Lights. Yes! Epilepsy, I say as my background footage turns into the sun. Good lord, that's coincidental. Added a new cutscene to disable AUT Train's cutscenes. Added a new cutscene A new cutscene setting. Oh, I can read. Forces spectator POV instead. Oh, I like that. Added migration to move equipping for old players who never went through the migration process. Now happens automatically or joining and equipping an ability. Combat ability stuff that doesn't matter. That's a big one. While PvP tagged meter gain and recovery heal is now ignored when attacking NPCs/dummies, and any sort of lifesteal effect is reduced by 90%. What that effectively means, right, is, you know those bums that were using Vampiric and Hexed Vampiric, and you get them to half HP, and then they turn around, shoot a projectile at a group of thugs by West Park, and then, bam, they're back up to full HP, I'm gonna end everything. You know that scenario? That's gone now. Now they got a 10th of that healing. So they heal. So a base Vampiric user would heal 1% of that damage they deal. So even if they use World Cutting Slash against that group of thugs, they're getting at most 20 healing. Which is amazing. Also, I don't know if Vampiric is hard-coded or not, and I don't know what things are hard-coded. So if it's, Delta might still have that issue, so if you're fighting a Delta main or a Chainsaw Man main, you're kind of fucked, I guess, but, I don't want to bother to double-check that. And they finally have added move descriptions to the following abilities. Star Planet of the World, his whole kit didn't have move descriptions before this update. Same with the Ashura, Slanter Trainee, and Garu. Roku Shiki got, the same treatment, as well as Mirage Blades and Hay. I don't know why they didn't give Mirage Blades, move descriptions, a decade ago. That's such an easy thing to do, and they just didn't do it. Why? What's the point? Just give them the description. They also removed, man whose name is Wingdings, which translates to Shadow Figure. He's the guy next to East Riverside Park, I think, who has the Gaster hands, who used to be used for the Gaster quest, which, is upsetting, because that means Gaster is probably not going to return to AUT, which I'm upset about, because I love to bully people with Gaster in old AUT. Sorry if I pause randomly. I'm actually not sorry. I'm drinking, fancy sparkling water. Anyway. They also removed Egg. I'm not sure if that's a Deltarune reference, or if they just removed an egg from the game, or I don't know what's going on there, man. Anyway, huge day for Ranked. Increase the max individual bans in versus 1v1's game mode to 5 bans, which is awesome. And, that's not just, per team for 2v2s and 3v3s, it's per person, which means it's 12 total bans, on each team in 3v3s and 10 in 2v2s, which is great. They finally added fucking region-based matchmaking, which is the easiest shit to implement. Why did we not have this sooner? Why? I keep getting put in fucking Macedonian servers. I don't want to be in Macedonia. I'm on the other side of the planet from that country or state or wherever that place is. Stop putting me in Macedonia, for the love of Christ. Ranked game mode now matches ELO plus Threshold. Threshold increases with time to make a match. I think Threshold is the maximum ELO you're allowed to be paired up with. So, takes comical swig of Saratoga sparkling water. So I think, and the Threshold increases with time to make a match. So, if I'd have to assume how this works, it's Threshold is the upper ELO that you're allowed to be paired with, and then the longer it goes on, the higher of it. If you're waiting for a match for 5 minutes, they'll say, fuck it, put him with, a guy who has 6 billion ELO, so he can at least have a match. Or she, or they. I use he as an example, because there's 0.001% of the AUT community is not a guy. Not making a match in 1 minute will prompt an all-region queue, which only matches you with people who pick the all-region queue. So basically, if nobody in your region is queuing up for a match, which is fairly common for most AUT players. You can basically just say, screw it, put me in Mathmania anyway. Which is probably gonna happen, which kind of sucks. But they're now onto the bug fixes. Fixed awakening stats not work. Fixed awakening stats not working correctly on the following abilities. And I must say, how in the world do you let this get past quality control? This is insane, because that means some of these ability awakenings haven't actually been doing anything for a while, presumably since they were released, which is kind of insane. First up, Star Platinum of the World. What's the point of the awakening? Costs, I think, 100 or 50 meter, somewhere in that range, for nothing, literally nothing. It doesn't buff anything other than your attack stat, apparently. The World, which I didn't even know Base the World had an awakening. I haven't used the rework at all, because I hate it. I'm not a bum. Soul, which I'm upset about, because I just thought the buff was really small, so I wasn't using it, at all. Also, pray for a soul rework. I need my soul rework so bad. I have a fraction deferred. Please, devs, give me a soul rework. You gave Nocturnus an entire clean-ass rework. Give me soul rework, please. It needs a rival. Give soul a big rework, please. Anyways, Anshin, Tusk Act 1 through 4, Casey, Broly, Uryu, and Aizen also all got their awakenings fixed. It's actually big money for me, because I have, a soul reaping, Uryu. Good for me. Yippee. Why did so many people use the Broly ult so often, though, if it didn't actually buff anything? This is propaganda. None of this is real. They just said they did it so the bug fixes looked larger. It's propaganda! Fix the world lethal onslaught, not putting the target into actual stun. No, unfix it. Let us bully the world more. Fixed grounded mounts being extremely slow on ground. How do you fuck that up? How? Explain to me how you fuck that up. Fixed grounded mounts being extremely slow on the ground. It's meant to be on the ground. Why is it extremely slow when it's on the ground? Fixed brick battle bomb jump not working under certain conditions. For anyone that didn't know, if you had the chroma skin equipped and there was a bunch of different color combinations, like if you had all yellow everything and then the light blue body, and a remotely light blue body, it would make it so you just straight up couldn't bomb jump. Like, it had no hitbox. It gave you super armor, but it didn't have a hitbox of any kind. It was literally just used as counterbait, which is kind of weird at that point. Fixed a race condition where a match would be made multiple times between two parties in quick succession, causing a ghost match. That's a really big fix, because whenever you would queue for 1v1s, right? And then you would end up getting put into a lobby with nobody in it, and it would never prompt you to leave, so you'd have to leave manually, and it wasn't even like is the other guy still loading in? Oh, sorry. You just wouldn't get to get a match. You just had to leave and rejoin completely, which kind of sucked. But that's what they're fixing with that. Roku Shiki is no longer able to air stall with block. Thank everything. That is so much better. If you didn't know, Roku Shiki on release, and up until now apparently, I didn't know you could still do this, could apparently, you could just sit in the air, which is kind of annoying, as anyone knows, because, if you're using an ability that can't get into the air, you can't really fight back, because you can just sit up there and wait. Anyway, Killer Queen Stray Cat no longer heavily drops FPS, which I didn't even know that bug existed. That's great. And they finally bug fixed the Mad Dog M1 and M2 stacking. Finally, we have balance changes, the thing we've all been waiting for, the thing we need to be good. Come on, AUT, you've ran 100 polls in the past, since update 6.2.2 and update 6.2.3. Come on, AUT. Immediately, nuclear star nerfs. Let's see what we got. Acceleration drive, disabled running whilst active, increased cooldown from 10 seconds to 15 seconds, and then nothing else for nuclear star. But we got a lot more stuff here, right? Kuro Claws. Disable... Why are we nerfing Kuro Claws? They just nerfed Kuro Claws Awakening for no reason. They nerfed an already, like, B tier... not even a B tier, that's like a C+ tier ability. They just nerfed one of its main things, being its speed. Why? Killua nerfs. I support this. I hate Killua mains. I hope all of them explode. Blink of an eye no longer procs traits on heart lead ticks, which is amazing. I think what that means is, like, Gambler and Hexed Gambler and Hex Deferred no longer get crits. It's basically just crits is what they fixed there, I think. Or it's vampirism. It could also be that. Hueco got, like, buffed, sort of buffed, debuffed. They still haven't removed his grounded M1s, which is great. Like, you know, we love our grounded M1s. They're not bullshit at all. Hueco is totally balanced. But Spit now actually has a projectile, but they've increased its cooldown by 3 seconds from 7 seconds to 10 seconds. So just invest in more special, I guess. Oh, this is a big one. Alright. Huge Dragon Knight balances, alright? First up, we got his passives. Flameborn, which is his passive. Or one of his 20 passives, I guess. Requirement to heal from puddles lowered from 100 heat to 70 heat, which I think is a good thing. Mainly because, you know, I think locking your healing behind full heat is kind of insane. Especially considering the fact that, like, if my opponent is using Suna or Delta, I will never have 100 heat. Because they have a move that costs less than 100 heat that takes away my heat. So I would never be able to heal against a Delta or a Suna or anything else that has heat-sapping moves. But total damage inflicted from burn by puddles is lowered from 50 to 20, which that's a really valid change. I felt like the over time tick damage from Dragon Knight has always been a little over the top compared to most other tick damage based abilities in the game. Like, even stuff like Weather Report, which was just like little tickles of damage with some of its moves, even that was like getting outclassed. But max heat defense stat buff decreased to 15, which, you know, that's a pretty big nerf, but like, it's deserved, especially if we're gonna increase healing, decrease defense. I think that's, you know, a pretty nice thing. And, oh my god, I have, like, indigestion or something. Why can't I'll, like, go to talk and then I have to burp, and then go to talk and then I have to burp. But, now has a limit of 1 puddle active at a time. I don't like that, personally, right? Because, like, if I want to use the heat and the moves to give myself more puddles to heal, it's just gonna make me run out of, like, healing time faster. So it auto-balances itself in that regard. You didn't need to nerf the puddle limit. But I guess it does make sense, because the puddles do still, like, inflict damage on other people, and if you have, like, Voided or something, you could just, like, stack them on top of each other. So I guess it is kind of fair. I would have said limit it to 2, so you can at least stack them together for the increased heal for less time spent healing. But Dragon's Armor, defense stat buff increased to 15, so they've moved the 15 stats for defense from Flameborn just into Dragon's Armor. But Dragon's Armor apparently no longer buffs your HP stat, which, fair, I guess. I mean, like, I didn't use Dragon Knight enough before this to know how big of a debuff that is, so... Rebirth now consumes all meter, reduced ragdoll time to 0.6 seconds. That's nice, actually. I like that. I don't know what his meter cost is, or if it has one, because again, I don't use Dragon Knight, but I feel like that's nice. And giving revives a, ragdoll time around them so you can't be punished immediately after is also a great touch. The Roar, this is all just move stuff. Oh, Inferno Beam got a big change. It's now, you know, it's the E move, where you do a big beam out of your mouth, and it's just like a big wind-up. It's supposed to be like a barrage, but it doesn't really work as a barrage. But now you can turn during it, it's cancelable, it has a shorter wind-up, and it has better stun. So, that's great. But it does have lower damage and no block break. And it has half the hitbox length. So they are turning Inferno Beam into way more of a barrage move, more so than a punish move like it was originally. Well, at least a punish move in my opinion. That's what I thought it was. But, you know, could also be a combo extender, I guess. I didn't use Dragon Knight enough to figure out all the nuances, so I'm not an expert. Scorching Lunge now doesn't cost any heat. It is no longer parryable. The explosion now hits ragdoll, and it spawns a puddle equivalent to the AoE size for the second hit. I don't know what that means. I think it's just either a larger or smaller puddle than before. They lowered the total damage to 40, and it's the first part of it's not blockable. Avatar now has a red flash when the explosion's about to proc. Which is nice, because, like, more indication is always good in AUT. It's a very fast-paced game, so having more stuff be fed to you is a good thing, in my opinion at least, because you know what's actually happening. Like, for a while, if you don't know what you're doing in AUT, it's very hard to do PvP, because a lot of stuff is like sound cues rather than visual cues, and if you don't know what those sound cues sound like, then you don't know what's happening. But, a lot of this is just, like, rebalances. I looked over it. It's alright. I will say, though, they did increase the leap cooldown by almost double, from 8 to 14 seconds, which I think is a little extreme. But, you know, I also, again, I just don't know Dragon Knight that well. I can't judge that. So if there's any Dragon Knight mains out there who are deeply upset by this, go whine to the devs, not me. Or do whine to me. I need the publicity in my comment section. Finally some fucking Minos nerfs. Basically everything got nerfed in terms of cooldowns, damage scaling, and shockwaves. Shockwaves, this is a big one. They've both removed the stun from shockwaves and made them exclusive to the weak awakening. Which is great, because, you know, I'm not going to be getting constantly randomly hit by shockwaves during a 1v1 now. So you can actually fight back against Minos now, which is amazing. His E move, Thy End Is Now, is really annoying though, because it disables block on the third hit now. So you know how it's Thy End Is. On the is, it now is disabling my fucking block. Which means I can no longer hold block for 3 hits and then counter or dodge. It means I need to hold it for 2 and then counter, which is gonna throw me off. But, you know, eventually we'll all get used to it. And I'm saying all of us because, I want to feel better about me being bad at the game. They also heavily decreased the cooldown on the Awakening. It's gone from 90 to 60, and they increased the duration by 5. And the cooldown is now beginning once the Awakening ends. And I think... yeah, it's whatever. And they've slightly lowered the attack speed bonus from 1.3 times to 1.225, which is an oddly specific amount, but whatever. And, I'm scrolling down to this. The World Over Heaven got some balance changes, and I'm scared to read them. I'm saying this is my live reaction, folks, alright? First up, Rush Attack, Stand On. Removed 1 lingering hitbox per M1. Alright, some optimization. Makes it harder to hitbox drag. I like that. Barrage reduced cooldown from 15 to 8 seconds. No, why? Why would you do that? Why? No, the World Over Heaven is already overpowered. We don't need to give it a lower barrage cooldown. Take away its combo extenders. Mangle now guard breaks instead of bypasses. Why? Again, just why? That move was balanced finally enough. Like, that's not a buff it needs. That's stupid. It's stupido. Idiota. You don't need to give it guard breaking. Just leave it as is. Mangle is a fine move. If anything, you should be slightly lowering how long the debuff lasts. In my opinion, at least. Divine Thunder, damage on ride build targets increased from 0.5 to 0.5x base damage. Why? Why? That you're buffing an already great move. You're buffing a move that they already button matched the shit out of. Why are we buffing that? Why? Why? I get all the TWOH chuds would be upset over it. But why? Why? Just leave it. You could have just not changed anything about Divine Thunder. You could have just left it at half base damage. But no, we have to make it 75% because we love TWOH sweats. Anyway, Rampage Force, the stand on Y move, the really annoying, like, unblockable one. No longer parryable, increased total damage from 40 to 47.5. Why? Why? Why give it the extra 7.5 damage? I just don't understand that. And they've reduced the knockback, but it no longer grants back heat, which I guess is meh. It makes it so spiritual mains, I guess, your spiritual TWOHs, I guess, don't immediately get time stop off of it. But it's still pretty bad, because they've reduced the knockback, and they say, with a little, wonky, I forget what it's called, it's in brackets, to confirm Divine Thunder. Divine Thunder. Why? Why? Just why? Because you can Divine Thunder into time stop them. If you have Solar, I presume. I'm not too sure about that, but I don't like that. Just leave them. Just let them have the 4 move combos. You don't need to specifically buff it to confirm a 5th move, right? That's not something we need to do, right? You know. Reality Overwrite. Debuff duration increased to 15 seconds. Why the fuck are we increasing its duration? That's such a bad thing to do. It's it's the strongest move in the game right now, excluding something like Time Stop. Because Time Stop is insane. Or a nuke move, or something like that. And even then, Reality Overwrite can cancel most nuke moves if you get it off before the nuke fully finishes. Like, it can cancel Sukuna's Shrine, it can cancel Gojo's nuke, it can cancel Gear 5. It cancels most of the nukes. Why would you buff it again? Now, penetrates and disables both Ken and Buso Hockey. Why? Just why? I don't get why. I don't get the why behind that at all. That doesn't make any sense to me. There's just no point in that. I would say it's fine to let it bypass Ken, but why disable Buso? Why? Just why? I get Buso was a mode move, and it's disabling modes and shit, but why let it do that? Just, Reality Overwrite and the entire TWOH kit is already insanely overpowered. We don't need to give it more shit. I feel like that's just excessive. And when used against a party member, heal them by 10% of their max HP and grant them a 10% damage and defense boost for 20 seconds. Which means, well, it means that spiritual mains, or spiritual TWOHs that are teaming on you, now buff their teammates and debuff you at the same time. Which is so balanced. You know? And another thing is buffed player is also immune to debuffs for the duration, which means reality overwrite can't be undone by another reality overwrite. What the fuck? There's no counter to that. You just, so if I'm being teamed on by a pair of spiritual TWOHs, right? and one of them time stops, they can both turn to each other, press B, do their little wind up, hit each other, and then get a giant heal of, I'm gonna say like 100 HP minimum, because most people have around 1,000 HP with most of their builds, unless you're doing a rush build, which in case you have a lot less. But for most cases, around 1,000. Oh my god. It did get some nerfs though, but you know. No longer removes armor from targets, which is huge. That means you can actually kind of fight back. Armor now ends once all hitboxes have been cast. Not even necessary. That's, like... I felt like that wasn't a change that needed to happen to it. Yes, it's a nerf, and I will support any TWOH nerf that happens ever. But, like, that's such an that just, like, doesn't help anyone. I think they put that there just so it looks like they nerfed this more than they buffed it. Because they know they buffed this more than they nerfed it. Which I think is a load of bullshit. I think, quite frankly, they should full-on disable the world over heaven. I think it's wildly unbalanced right now, and that it needs to be fully re-overhauled. They need to do what they did to the world over heaven in the opposite direction. They need to go from making it really good to really bad. Not really bad, but really balanced, I should say. Because the way they're treating it right now is ridiculous. They're treating it like it's... They're doing what they did to Locke, and they're giving it 45 billion combo extenders with basically no cooldowns. Defense debuff reduced from 20% more damage to 12.5. You know, I guess that's fine. Actually, that's really good. I would have preferred if they just removed the defense debuff. Because I get it's a reality overwrite, and it's overriding reality. You know, we gotta be a pretty strong move. But, I do think, even with this nerf, that TWOH is still basically unfightable, especially considering they buffed the rest of his kit pretty heavily. But this is the main one here. Targets now only lose trait and trait substats instead of both traits and all stats. Huge day for everyone that hates TWOH. It still does disable your trait though, which is still insanely overpowered. I would have preferred if it just disabled stats and substats, because, well, quite frankly, stats, while they do matter a lot, traits matter a lot more, because, like, you know, like, if I'm 1v1ing a guy, and I'm using something like, I don't know, Godly Weather Report, just to throw that in there, versus a spiritual the world over heaven. I could be winning a fight, and then he could get, like, 2 moves off, ragdoll me to confirm into his time stop, and then reality overwrite, and I would instantly lose the fight still. But I do appreciate the defense debuff and the fixes to the all stats removal. I think that's good. I think that's great, actually. But they added the stand-off rush attacks. They gave him 2 more lingering hitboxes per round 1. Why? They don't need more hitbox drag. Nobody asked for this. Nobody wanted this. Oh, and another thing. Whenever they put out those polls for balance changes, they never put the world over heaven on them. Ever. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They're buffing it. They're buffing it behind our backs. It's propaganda. They're letting us think we're changing things by giving us polls, but we're not changing anything. What we're changing is trivial. We need to remove TWOH. We hate TWOH. Boo! Boo! Anyway, added 1 more lingering hitbox to round kick. Fair enough. I think it only had like 4 hitboxes before. I honestly think it needs like 20. Because, like, round kick is one of... Well, I mean, it's the worst move in the standoff kit right now, other than like base grab. So I kind of support the buff on round kick, and it's a smooth move. I like the fallen voice line for it. I like it. It's the only good thing about 12 is the round kick move. Behind and above got nerfed twice. The move is now fully cancelable if interrupted anywhere during the move instead of just during the charge. So like, if you release the move and then got hit out of it, the lightning would still go out. But if you get hit while the lightning goes out, now it cancels the lightning too. And it no longer guard breaks, only bypasses, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think that, honestly, I feel like if you're letting your opponent get behind and above off, you deserve the guard break. Like, that's really easy to cancel. Like, I think the only time that should guard break should be if, I think the only time that should guard break should be if it's fully charged. Right? If it's not even fully charged. Actually, scratch that. I think it should still guard break if it's the quick right in front of you version. Right? Because that's like, it's not a combo extender, it's not a combo ender. Actually, it's a combo ender, not an extender or a starter, right? Like, you can't extend a combo off of behind and above, I think. Unless Mangle hits on the floor, but I don't think Mangle hits on the floor. If Mangle hits on the floor, tell me to shut up, I guess, and I'll shut up. But I'm pretty sure that's a bad move on their part. But like,